Greetings and salutations. I know some of you guys have been waiting on this video. It's how to upgrade to Linux Mint 19 from 18.3 in place, which means you're going to do it on the machine that's currently running Linux Mint 18.3. These instructions just came down from Clem, the head of the Linux Mint project, and whenever they move from one series to another, like from 17 to 18 and now from 18 to 19, we do get an in-place upgrade path, but it is not a simple, trivial upgrade. This is not a point-and-click operation, as he explains here. First of all, he asks, do you really need to upgrade? Linux Mint 17 series is still supported until April 2019. Linux Mint 18 series is supported until 2021, and he says if your version of Linux Mint is still supported and you are happy with it, you should probably stay where you are until you're ready to do a complete, I guess, reinstall at some point down the road. Another thing that he points out is that you really need to try Linux Mint 19 on the computer you're going to do this upgrade on, because it is a huge difference when you're moving from the 1604 Ubuntu base to the 1804 Ubuntu base, and there may be some hardware regressions there. Unfortunately, that's just a reality when you're making a big move like this. So what might work just fine on Linux Mint 18.3 suddenly is not going to work on 19. So you need to go ahead and boot the machine off of 19 first by creating a bootable media of some sort, a DVD, a USB stick, whatever, and just see if everything works. And then he reminds you to create a system snapshot. Of course, time shift is a big part of Linux Mint these days, and if you are running Linux Mint 18.3, you no doubt have it set up and you know how it works. So what you need to do there is to create a specific snapshot of the system that you're going to label. Go back and set the comments on and say, before upgrade, so you can get back to your old system should there be a problem. Do you make backups? That's important as well. You need to go ahead and back up all of your data before you do this sort of thing. Okay, the requirements is that you have to have experience with apt and the command line. Of course, a lot of the folks watching these videos, you guys know how to do that. That's no big deal. But if you're a brand newbie to Linux Mint, you haven't really learned a whole lot about the terminal yet, then this might be a bit over your head. So the first thing that they go through is installing time shift on the system and how to do a snapshot. We're going to skip that part today, and I'll tell you why. It is because we are using a virtual machine for our demonstration, which is actually has too small of a virtual drive to accommodate a time shift snapshot. So we're going to wing it. And of course, it's a virtual machine. I don't care if it gets screwed up. And VirtualBox itself has snapshots that I've already taken a VirtualBox snapshot, so I don't really care. So we're going to pick up after time shift. I'm going to move down to our machine. We're going to open up a terminal in our virtual machine, and we'll go ahead and make that pretty big so everybody can see. I can make it bigger than that too. Let's do one more. There you go. Got a giant terminal for you to work with. And we're going to paste in the first command, and this is just so we know what display manager we're running, and it tells us that we're running LightDM. I already knew that. Now the reason why we're doing that is because we need to make sure that if we are running the old Mint display manager, MDM, that we install the new LightDM before we move on. So if you don't have it, it is sudo apt install LightDM, and then that command is there, and then you need to purge the old MDM. We don't have to do that. So once that's done, now we get into the upgrade proper. Update your Linux Mint 18.3 system using the update manager. Click on refresh. We've done all that. Matter of fact, I did that just before I started the video, so our Linux Mint 18.3 system is up to date. And by the way, a few of you might have got a bad update yesterday where it tried to move you to the 4.15 kernel, and it broke some stuff. That has been fixed. You can just use time shift to roll back, or you can manually roll back to an older kernel and everything will work. And you won't be offered that update yet until they fix the problem. Okay, so what is the first thing that we need to do? Give your terminal unlimited scrolling. edit preferences and do scrolling. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. So we'll go to profiles, and well, we're already on that profile. I need to choose preferences. And we'll go to scrolling, and we're going to make it, let's see, well, show scroll bar, that's on. I don't have, how am I supposed to do that? Let me go back and look over here. It doesn't have a choice for unlimited there, Clem. Let's see what you suggest here. Let me roll up here to, go back up here, check the unlimited option and click OK. It's not here. Why isn't it here? Do you see unlimited somewhere? I don't. Well, I guess we just uncheck that. Does that make it unlimited? I would guess so. Okay. Alright, that's good. That's taken care of. Oops. That's not what I wanted to do. Get out of the machine, go back up to our instructions. Thank you very much. Now we need to install the upgrade tool, apt install mint upgrade. You know, really, honestly, this is not as much of a how-to video as it is let's see if this works video, because I haven't done this myself. Let me I'm going to go ahead and sudo apt install. Did he say to switch to a like a root shell there? That I missed that? No, he did not. You could do that, I would suppose, but I'll show you how to do that after this is done. Okay, so let's do this. That way we don't have to actually put sudo in front of all of these commands. We're doing it as root. And I keep hitting the same keystroke that's causing me the same problem. Don't do that again. Okay. We're going to simulate an upgrade. See what that does. Please don't run this command as root. Oh. So I messed myself up there. I tried to be all slick. See, when you do that kind of stuff, that's when you get in that kind of trouble. You think, oh, well, I'm going to run as root. Oh, I've got snapshots turned off. That's why it's mad. Let's go in here and turn it on. But I won't take a snapshot. How's that? See, because I don't have space on this to take a snapshot. But maybe it will say it's okay. Let's go next. And it's got to figure this out. What if I don't want to take a snapshot? What if I want to live dangerously? See, because I really don't want to have to like create a whole new virtual machine to do this. So, but you might not have had this set up and it might be complaining as well, which means you have to go back and follow the directions for setting up TimeShift. See how that works? Yeah. So that's done. Let us move on. That's okay because I'm not really going to do it. Finish. Open this crap up. There you go. Okay, now the snapshots. Let's see if it'll... It's going to let me by on that. Sure, let's go ahead and do it. I guess we're into it now. We're switching to the new repositories, which means there's no turning back. We're doing the upgrade whether you like it or not. So this looks like it's going to... Let's see, is this going to take some time? Nope, we're done. apt will now calculate the package changes necessary to upgrade to Linux Mint 19 Terra. Yes, let's continue. Let's see what this does. Well, it says like a whole bunch is going to be upgraded, and I guess we just go ahead and do it. This is it. All right. Oh, what? 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 What happened there? Okay. Disk space will be. Do you want to continue? Did I hit no? It's like it hit no. Oh, okay. So now what do I do? Well, why don't you go look at the directions? That would help, wouldn't it? This is a fun video. I can already hear everybody laughing out there. Download the package updates. To download package updates necessary to upgrade Linux Mint 18, type the following command. Mint upgrade download. Okay. Okay, well, we did that. And then, okay, let's try. Should have followed the directions to begin with, right? Okay, sorry about that. Got ahead of ourselves. All right. Get that out of there. All right, let's see what it does next. That means it's going to download all them packages. It's a lot of packages to download, man. Well, I guess this is going to do that, so it's going to take... Well, hold on. I'm trying to figure out whether to pause or not. Well, let's try that again then. Huh. Okay. Oh, now we've got all this stuff. Now this is definitely going to take some time. I'll pause until it's done. Okay, that took a little while because I think we just downloaded like the entire Linux Mint 19 distribution, one package at a time. So let's go look at the directions and see what we're supposed to do next. I don't want to get ahead of them again. Fumble our way through this. This is a fun video. I can hear you all laughing out there now. So, apply the upgrades. So we do Mint upgrade, and then we do upgrade. All right. Let's see what this does. Oh, just upgrade. I was going to type it twice, man. Dyslexia kicking in. Yep, okay, so it's going to ask. So basically, don't do any of this as root unless they tell you to. Seems to make sense. Yeah, we just downloaded everything. I don't know why it's asking, but okay, let's go. Uh-oh. This operation is non-reversible. That's what it says. So when we do this, we're committed, right? There's no way back. Here we go. Let's see what happens. Okay, now this is going to take some time as well because now it has to install the entire distribution. We'll be back when it's time to do something interesting. I want to let it get started here before I pause. I want to see what it does. It's just installing, so we'll just let it do its thing. That took a long time with a lot of output scrolling by. I think it's probably safe to say that it would be quicker to back up your data and reinstall Linux Mint from scratch. So if you're in a hurry, this is definitely not the option to go with because it took forever to download earlier, and then it took forever to install. And by the way, you have to kind of keep your eye on it because it asked for my administrative password 3 times every time that it moved on to another step. And so it is the moment of truth. Will it reboot? Will it work? We will find out right now, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm just going to type in reboot. It should just do it with reboot. Nope, it's not going to let me. Sudo reboot. You see? You didn't follow the directions again. Even Clem said sudo reboot in his script there. Did you see that? And I ignored it. It's what you think. It's what you get when you think you know everything. Okay, so we'll see what it does now. Oh, that's a good sign. I'm assuming that any third-party applications that you installed, you probably would have to reinstall at this point. So, for instance, if you had downloaded and installed Google Chrome on Linux Mint 18.3, you'll probably most likely have to reinstall it. Things that are within the distribution that could have been upgraded would have been upgraded. So I guess the other thing that you would want to check as well is anything that you had to use a PPA to install would probably have to be reinstalled as well. Oh, well, this is getting good. It resized itself. Certainly looks like Linux Mint 19 Tera to me. Let's see what our desktop looks like. Well, the 3D drivers are working. We have a terminal here. Let's see what we got going on. And we're on the 4.15 kernel. So that seems to have done what it was supposed to do. We are definitely where we need to be. Have to reinitialize the update manager. And it's going to ask us to, before we do that, we ought to set our mirrors, hadn't we? That'll be fine for that. Apply. Let's see what I get for Ubuntu mirrors that come up pretty close. There's EvoWise LA. I don't want LA. But they always come up faster, even though that's where they are. We'll go ahead and take those just because this is a video. I'm not going to sit there and wait for that to do that. Okay. Refreshing the cache. Making sure that's okay. Honestly, I did not expect this to work. I thought that what was going to happen was that when I rebooted it, we were going to get hung up during the boot process, mainly because of the VirtualBox guest editions and the video drivers for VirtualBox, because I have installed those manually in Linux Mint 18.3. But toward the end of all of the upgrading that was going on and the stuff that was going up on the screen, I happened to notice that it was rebuilding those drivers for the new kernel. So that's pretty awesome. Okay, so that's done. Before we get into that, I'm curious what the kernel tool says, because there were a couple of old kernels installed on this particular thing. So let's just take a look in there real quick. 4.10 is installed. 2 4.13s are installed, and the new 4.15 is installed. So let me go ahead and install the new 4.15 kernel. It's going to pull in some stuff there. And yes, somebody is taking a shower in the background. It's like early in the morning around here, and people are moving and grooving and getting ready for work and stuff like that. I actually started this quite early. This has taken a long time to do the video. I didn't take a note of the time itself, but in the very top of the screen there on my Ubuntu desktop, I do have a little clock. So anybody who wants to squint at that and figure out what it says and then add up the minutes, you can figure out how long this has been going on. This took a long time to do in this virtual machine. And this virtual machine has 2 cores of an Intel Xeon processor, and it has got like 2 gigabytes of memory. So, I mean, it takes it a little while to do things here. So let me go ahead and pause while this thing is doing its kernel update, because that usually takes a few seconds. Well, the kernel update finished, but then I got that message, so maybe we ought to fix that real quick. Hope you don't mind hanging out with me while we kind of play around here, but it's kind of a learn as we go type situation. So let's see. Well, yeah. Let's just use the main Linux Mint mirror. And in case it's that one, let's go over here and see what we got. There. Virginia Tech, that's pretty close to me. Okay. Make sure we don't have any broken mirrors. While it's doing this, a couple of notes. There's some workarounds here in the directions that I didn't want to do that. There's some workarounds here that Clem posted at the end in case you run into some problems here. Of course, the alternative is to just start over. Make sure you have all your data backed up before you attempt to do this, of course. And then he's got some notes down here. So that's pretty much it. We worked our way through the entire process. Like I said, I'm actually kind of surprised that worked. And by the way, and if I mentioned it at the beginning of the video, and I'm mentioning it again now, the beginning of the video was a long time ago for me. You'll have to forgive me. There was an update that was sent down yesterday that attempted to move Linux Mint 18.3 from the 4.13 kernel series to the 4.15 kernel series. And that broke a lot of stuff for people. I got several people who contacted me and said, hey, so time shift came in real handy, because if you rolled back to yesterday and then went into the update manager here and blocked those kernel updates, then it made a big difference. So let's make sure that this is not where it should be and all up to date and happy. And then I'll show you what to do here real quick. It's still complaining about mirrors. Well, we just installed that. Maybe we have an issue here. Hang with me. Packages at linuxmint.com. Yeah, that's fine. I know those mirrors are good. Well, let's try and install the update again and see what it does. So maybe it installed a slightly older version, and then we changed mirrors. We got a newer one. I'm going to let this update play out. I'm going to pause the video, come back, and you'll see the results. Okay, it seemed to work that time, although it's still bugging me about changing mirrors, which I am not going to do. What I want to do is I want to jump in here real quick and talk about setting the preferences. If you got one of those bad kernel updates yesterday, and when you rebooted you found out something didn't work and you used time shift or rolled back to the older kernel, you can temporarily get the system to not show you kernel updates just by deselecting these right here. And wait a little while until they get that straightened out. So I think that they did that, and then that particular update was withdrawn, so obviously they're working on it. and it was just a little hiccup that happened. So that was one thing that I wanted to show. And the last thing I want to show before we close out the video is once you get this done, you're going to have a ton of Linux kernels installed. Obviously, we already had 3 on this virtual machine from just me goofing around with it, and then we got more than that. So we would probably want to go through and remove the really old Linux kernels here. So just through all that upgrading, look at this. I've got 1 active and 2 installed that are newer here. And then I've got 2 of the 413 series and then 2 of the 410 series installed. So to get rid of those, just click remove. Yes. And then you can go through and do that. And what you need to do to get on the latest kernel update that you installed, of course, is to reboot the machine, which I have not done here, so that's why it's running on an older kernel. But when you reboot, it'll be on the latest, and what I suggest is that you leave the last 2 Linux kernels installed, the latest that you're running on and the one before that, just in case something goes wrong and you have to roll back. That's just a just in case. And that's one of the things about Linux Mint that is really hard for new users to get used to, is the fact that, yes, you have to go in here and get rid of these kernels. With Ubuntu proper, you can just do sudo apt auto remove, and it will get rid of old kernels as you're updating, as for the life of the release, and it will do it that way. That might be happening in Linux Mint 19, but I don't know. I'll tell you what, we've uninstalled 1. We can try that. So if you're game to hang out for a minute, let's see if it's doing it in Linux Mint 19 these days. So I'm going to go ahead and close the update manager, and I'm going to go ahead and restart this. So we know there's a couple of old kernels in there. So let's go ahead and restart. Get it all refreshed on the new kernel, and we'll see what the deal is here. And it shouldn't take too long to restart, so we'll just hang out and watch it happen. And go ahead and let's put this here, right in the middle. There we go. Oh boy, the excitement is just unbelievable. I think the boot time is maybe a little slower than it was on Linux Mint 18.3. It kind of seems a little slower. I've noticed that with Ubuntu 16.04 moving to Ubuntu 18.04, that, yeah, the boot time on 18.04 seems to be just a bit longer. So, okay, here we are. We're there. You didn't like that? Well, glad you liked it that time. I have a password that is it's just letters and numbers in a meaningless sequence to anybody else. And the beautiful thing is that if somebody says, "Oh, I need to get in your computer," I can give them the password, and then they forget it immediately. They have to ask over and over again. It's very secure that way. And it's also difficult for me to type. I usually have to do it about twice. So I know it's a pretty secure password. Okay, anyway, get on with the show here. Let's open up a terminal. And let's just see what happens. Oh, gotta put the R in or it won't find it. Auto remove. Let's see if this will get rid of some old kernels for us. No, there's some stuff left over from the upgrade, but I don't see any Linux kernels on that list. So the only way to do those would be to do them manually. Now, I've already showed you how to do one, so I'm not going to do any more in the video. We're going to wind it up right about here. Why not? Go ahead and get rid of those old packages. So yes, even in Linux Mint 19, you'll have to use the kernel tool to uninstall old kernels. And if you have a machine that has UEFI boot enabled, that little UEFI partition will fill up if you have a whole bunch of kernels and you have to get rid of those. But other than that, hey, it worked. I'm surprised it did. Of course, I will have a link to the directions from Clem in the description for this video. And, have at it if you want to, but understand the risks. This may not work for you. I honestly didn't think it would work for me. Thank you so much for watching the video. This one was a lot of fun, a little bit haphazard, a little bit crazy, but in its own way, that's kind of cool now, isn't it? Please be sure to give Easy Linux a like on Facebook if you're a Facebook user. Also, check out easylinux.com and check out freedompenguin.com for more content about Linux from creators such as myself. We will do it again soon.